Now, India Today has spoken to Ashish Chandorkar, the author of Braving a Viral Storm, India's COVID-19 Vaccine Story. The book, which narrates a positive story of a national achievement of India's vaccine journey, also talks in detail about how India handled the situation in the COVID-19 pandemic.
As India marks its second-year anniversary of the start of its vaccination journey, I'm joined with Ashish Chandorkar, who's the co-author of the book, Braving a Viral Storm. Thank you so much, sir, for speaking with India Today. It's important to mention that he also works for the WTO mission in Geneva. So your whole experience in writing the book must be very extensive, because it was an extensive process. What was your experience while you were writing and researching about this book?
Right. Thank you so much. We started our vaccination on 16th of January 2021, so we are now nearing 2 years of that process. This book essentially covers the vaccine journey of India. It talks about not just the vaccination, the administration process, but also how the vaccines were researched, developed, what roles different parties played, like the government or the industry. We also spoke about the bottlenecks which we overcame. How did we use the technology, like COVID, for example? How did we have the communication strategy? So this book covers the whole gamut, and it was a great experience writing this, because it's a story of our national achievement. We bring forward what India has collectively achieved through these 2 years, and it's a very positive story about an Indian milestone.
You know, when this entire process was happening, we really saw a lot of internal criticism. COVID was not working for a day. There was criticism. There were criticism about decisions being taken. What does your book detail about how the decisions were being taken when such criticism was probably the driving factor in that backdrop?
Right. The criticism were easy to have, because it's such a complex process, and there was no playbook to handle this crisis. The decisions had to be made with limited information and also evolving situation, because the virus itself was mutating. They were, of course, like when PM Modi spoke about this crisis, he always spoke about lives and saving lives and livelihoods. So you had to take a call where you cannot shut down everything infinitely, and also you have to also save lives at the same time. So how do you balance the two objectives? And hence, while what looked very difficult in short term, like how do we handle the crisis, how do we make the vaccines, the fact is 2 years, if you look back in the hindsight, we actually did a pretty good job in terms of all aspects of the response, be it the health aspect, be it the financial management aspect, be it saving the economy. So again, the book really spoke to people who were involved in these decisions, and we bring that perspective as to how those decisions were made.
You know, one thing that comes to my mind was that there were a lot of misinformation that was also there when this entire process was on. And also when we talk about making a vaccine is another thing, giving it to the people is another. And that too in a country which is so diverse. You really have to go and tell each of them that you have to take the vaccine. What was your takeaway while you were unearthing how the government achieved this entire process?
So there were two strong points actually in this process, right? So first was that our use of technology. COVID was a wonderful platform, because it really recorded the entire process of vaccination, not just from the point of view of the vaccine taker, but it had details about the vaccinators, the batches of vaccine being used, reminders of doses. So there's a full kind of a record available on that platform. And this is a very unique kind of a tool, and good thing is that the Indian government had very early on decided that the response has to be technology driven. Even when the vaccines were not available, it was very clear that we will be using some technology, and which is why COVID came into picture. The second part was communication, and this was of course led by PM Modi himself when he took the vaccine when his turn came, and he tweeted that picture and shared the picture, and that kind of set a chain of events where a lot of social influencers, celebrities, key people in the country, be it from different walks like politics, Bollywood, cricket, they all kind of came forward to then talk about their vaccination, and this built you can call it like a peer pressure, a nudge factor, where the people were all looking in their own circles and getting motivated that okay, fine, I should also go and take the vaccines.
I mean, that was probably an easier part to tackle, but there was another difficult one. That was the cooperation between the centre and the states. We did see some states probably showing that initial inhibition. There were a lot of other politics that was unfortunately also involved. How difficult was that for especially those who are working behind that vaccination process to ensure that they give that fillip and push that even states and the centre cooperates?
There were clearly some differences in terms of how the strategy for procurement should be, or how how the technology should work. So yes, I mean, but I think there was glitches which we still think that in the larger context we did a good job of overcoming them. Yes, I mean, it took some time, perhaps in a couple of months, to agree on what the baseline should be. But if for example, vaccine movement, I'll give you an example. Like when vaccines had to move from Pune or Hyderabad or wherever they were being made to different parts of the country. So that needed a lot of cooperation between the states, because the vaccines were moving on land, which is like, you have to cross borders, I mean the boundaries of various states. And there was a lot of cooperation. Like we talked to individuals who were involved in this logistics process, and they were very positive as to how the states across political lines kind of cooperated to get the vaccines. So while we hear a lot of negative stories, some of these positive things don't come out, and the book does actually focus a lot on that.
That's interesting to know. And we can say that this is also somewhere down the line going to help India prepare for future such incidents, if at all. Because right now we see that globally there's still some struggle going on. We see China. Why do you think that India was such a big success story when it came to the vaccination? What was that key reason?
Right. So, you see, our response to COVID was generally very calibrated. We didn't go overboard with any one aspect of it, right? So, for example, the lockdown was for a few days, then we kind of calibrated, exit happened from the lockdown. During that period, we made PPE kits, masks. We also started research on vaccines very early in May 2020. So, in that sense, the response has been fairly well managed stage by stage. And that is actually shown in the end result. Also, when we talk about the whole idea of Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is exactly what this idea is, that you have the self-belief in your own capabilities. And different parts of the system needs to work together. So the government can do its own facilitation role, and of course there's political leadership in this instance. The private sector can then bring the science and technology capabilities, and then society acts to that by essentially acting responsible, in this case taking vaccines.
Any fun takeaways while you were researching and writing the book?
I think the one big takeaway was that when you see these events in real time, there's a lot of criticism in media, social media, as to, I mean, the decisions are characterized as ill-informed or misinformed, or people think that they may know more than what the policymakers know. But actually, the fact is, when we spoke to many of them, in hindsight, it looks almost funny to imagine that something was being criticized, because it was actually a well-considered decision, well considered in the context of what information was then available. You had to act on things which were very, as you said, happening very rapidly. So in that sense, it was a great experience talking to people who made those decisions firsthand, because they could then share their perspective of what challenges they faced.
Final question to you. What is that key takeaway whenever we're going to read the book? I haven't yet. I'm going to get a copy soon. But what will be the key takeaway of whoever reads your book of India's vaccination journey?
I think the key takeaway here will be a positive story about a national achievement, which was backed by, in this instance, political leadership in the form of PM Modi's work, and the fact that the country can come together to achieve much bigger milestones if we all play our part. So this is a story of an Indian milestone, which I hope that we replicate in other walks of life as well.
All right, that's the story of India's successful journey in vaccinating 1 billion people, protecting them against COVID-19. The report brings us to the end of this edition. You can find that interview and much more going up on our website too. It's indiatoday.com. Also, you can download the India Today app. Thank you for watching.